rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just want to have total control. Living in
That is such a valuable piece of advice there.
These are the sorts of things that we should talk about right in the first 5 minutes of the podcast.
Started giving people free quotes.
In sunshine and rainbows, it is
definitely a thing for just being a solo operator.
The change in mindset makes a massive difference.
Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars.
Before you listen to this interview, you may want to jump back into your feed and look at the old episode for Michelle Wilson. It's about 2.5 years old, but I've re-released it today for you. Welcome back to the dungeon, Michelle. How are you doing?
Thanks, Gary. Thanks for having me. I'm well, thank you.
It's good to see you back. It's been a while. Last time we talked was 2.5 years ago. We were talking about your area, Kalgoorlie, which is, from memory, I've just listened to your old episode 2.5 years ago, 6 hours away from Perth. So you're almost a day's drive east of Perth and a good solid 2.5, 3 days drive from the East Coast.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we're in the middle of not much. And it's 4 hours above the ocean. So we're 4 hours north of Esperance. Yeah.
So you're not even on the highway. Like, it's a detour off the highway that goes between East and West.
The highway, Coolgardie, Norseman, where you've got to go to Coolgardie and a little bit further, there's half an hour to Kalgoorlie. So all the main line goes across Australia, Norseman, up to Coolgardie, and then they turn and go further on to Perth. So, we're not even on the main line. Close. So when the train falls off the rails or there's a flood, everyone parks up in Coolgardie and there's just road trains for Africa.
My parents drove to Perth last year. I flew across for a family wedding and my parents drove across, and I can't remember if it was on the way there or on the way back, but they got held up because there was a truck on the highway that burnt to the ground. It's like the highway's just shut down. Everybody's got to wait for 2 days while they clean up.
That's pretty much how it is. Yeah, we can be pretty isolated. Yeah, and the same with when the trains come off the line, something happens, all our food, everything goes by trucks, so the trucks just get mental. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So I've had this wonderful thing happen to me the last couple of months where I got kicked off Facebook. Mm-hmm. And that's been my source for a lot of interviews, is finding lawn mowing contractors on Facebook and talking to them about how they run their business. You're unique because I found you on Instagram. But I'm going through old interviews now and I'm going, all right, let me start interviewing people I've interviewed before and see how they're going and what they've done differently in the last couple of years.
Well, the funny thing is with the social media is that at the start I was full into the social media. And I don't know what it is, as you get busier or you go back to the same clients or the work changes and I'm not doing so many big cleanups that are cool to video. You're just so busy that like just trying to video in itself. My social media has gone pretty much. I dabble every now and again and try and start posting, and then I just go, oh, this is too hard.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of the people that I talked to at the start of the podcast were pretty prolific on LMCA or Greg's group, which I think Greg's group would diverged from LMCA not long before I started podcasting. So
I'm not in that other group. I'm an LMCA, but I'm not in that other group. Yeah,
a lot of people are either not in any of the groups or they are not actually posting regularly now. So a lot of those guys who were prolific back 2.5, 3 years ago.
Well, I think it's when your business evolves at the start, it's great because there's all the help and you can search, and like especially like for quoting, or you're looking at hedging, or like if I was looking for a tool, you know, I snapped a ladder not long ago, and I just had a crappy, just like an A-frame thing that basically walked itself along. It was terrible. And I was like, what ladder is everyone using? And then so I just searched the group, and so I sort of more use it for that, just a bit of research, bit of like reassurance.
So you should have a tripod ladder now, right?
So I have I don't know what it's called, but it's got a bench. It's
platform.
The 456 Gorilla one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And that thing, well, only because we only have Bunnings here. Like we have literally Bunnings. Maybe some of the other mining company, like the mining supply companies, might have something else, but I didn't have time.
You need to try a tripod ladder.
I've seen them, but at the time I needed a ladder like that day. And
yeah, of course.
and I couldn't wait for something to get shipped. So
Yeah.
I
And
haven't
you
seen
pay
that.
as much in shipping as what the actual
Oh,
ladder costs if you're getting it from the East Coast.
or I just wait 2 years until I drive to Perth next.
Fair enough.
Mm. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty much what I use the group for. It's mainly just advice, and I think I posted one time about asking about, how do you progress your business? How do you get to that point where like you go from a sole trader to having employees, but then figuring out how to just manage all the things? And
Yep.
one guy was like, wait until your kids, just enjoy your kids and wait till they leave home or something. And I was like, oh. Well, like it was valid, but at the same time I was like, oh, that's not giving me my like magic pill.
That's not the answer you wanted.
No, I want to figure this out. Oh, why is it so hard? And then, but it's valid, like being a single parent, trying to do a physical job and do all the kids' sporting activities and running a household and just keeping myself in general health and all the things. It's like, yeah, it's just, I haven't figured out how to progress.
Yeah. So I've adjusted and fine-tuned my podcast over the last 2.5 years to try and focus on answering those sorts of questions to make sure that people who are listening to the podcast thinking about starting a business go, okay, we know we're armed with information from listening to the podcast. And people like yourself who are going, yeah, I want to make some changes to my business. Where do you get that from? Well, if you're not in the group like that, then listening to a podcast like this, you get a lot of answers.
Well, I think everyone has, when they start, well, you have all these grand ambitions. I'm going to get employees, I'm going to have crews, I'm going to have this and that. And then you're like, oh, how the heck? I mean, and here I'm competing with, mining wages. So,
Yeah.
and then you go through all these. So now I'm just like, I just have to accept that the people I'm going to get are not going to stay. And I'm just going to have to accept that that's part of like the business. You just make all these. It's an evolution, basically. And I've had casuals. I've got one lady that just does a few hours, a couple of days a week. That's more just for something to do. My partner's now moved. He's quit his not quit the mine where he was working for the last 13 years has finally closed. So we've been hanging out for redundancy. But he lives in Merredin, which is halfway to Perth. So we've done long distance for nearly 7 years. And yeah, I've moved there. That didn't work. And that was when I moved back that I started the business. So now he's doing his mining roster, which is 9 and 5. He still has to go back and have his kids for his days off. So he's coming and working with me for the 9 days. So we're going to try and make that work and see if we can't. Well, I mean, he could get a mining job here, 100%. But does he want to work 12 hours? Does he want to work night shift? He's not going to have the flexibility of being able to just go back if his kids are sick or there's a assembly that he needs to go to or something. Whereas if we try and make this work, he's got that flexibility and yeah.
Well, when we spoke 2.5 years ago, you had a group of, I think you had 2 or 3 girls working with you, and you were advertising on Seek to find people.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've dabbled with the Seek. I've had people. So I've sort of the evolution. I had the girls at the start, and they were great. Work ethic and initiative was awesome. They did a really good job, and pretty much I would be thinking, oh, this needs to be done next, turn around, and one of them would already be doing it, So I really liked that. Then but I struggled with the girls because most of them, they're all mums. So come school holidays, they have to look after their kids. And it goes back to me on my own, trying to manage my own children and
work.
All that work. So that didn't really work. I mean, I'm not against. I would like. I'll take girls on again, but I just know now in my mind that that's what comes with that.
Yeah, and that's one of those factors I've dealt with as well. Having female employees going, okay, they are great, and their initiative and their diligence is awesome, but that does come with that other side of going, okay, they are trying to manage all of the things and depending on their age as to whether they're a mum or whether they're grandmother or whether they're young and thinking about getting married.
Yeah. And then the next evolution was I was like, oh, well, I'll try backpackers because they have a lot of them come here to try and get like their visa. all that stuff. So there's quite a few here. So I thought, oh, that would be great. And I had this guy, he was Italian, he was so fit. He would like ride his bike to work, and then he was doing a chefing job after working all day with me. But I found the language barrier was quite tricky.
Yeah.
And when I'm giving him instructions, it's like, yes, 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 yes. And off he goes, and he's just doing something completely different to what I just had spent 10 minutes trying to explain to him.
It's almost an extra job just trying to teach him English.
Oh, and I went away for a couple of days, and I'm like, there's work here. I showed him the whole job. Like, it was like, he took the car, it was fine. So he's like, yes, yes, yes. And then when I got back, I went and checked the job, and I was like, what have you even done? And then, so the next time we were due to go back there, I was like, oh, well, how did you go here? And what'd you do? And I did this, this, and this. And I was like, you didn't do that. Like, you would have barely maybe done half an hour's work, probably gone, this is too hard, and left.
Yeah.
Because then we went and did it. I was like, if you had done it, this is what it would have looked like. But he was essentially just lying to me. Like, yeah, oh, yes, 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 I have. I'm like,
Been at the pub putting money in the pokies.
oh. No, he wasn't that type of guy, but I don't know, just wasn't honest with me. And that kind of was like,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I sort of, like, I wouldn't not have a backpacker again, but it's just something I hadn't considered prior.
I think that
then-
also is an issue. You touched on whether he's being honest with you, and I've noticed that with employees as well. It's hard to establish a company culture where employees are transparently honest.
Mm.
And that's something which takes a lot of deliberate work and part of how you set up your structure of your business. So I've seen that with other people struggling with employees, and usually you do your best to try and make sure that you're open and transparent with your employees, but trying to encourage them to be open and transparent back when it's like, okay, they need to take sick days when they're sick, or they need to actually be trusted to go and do a job while you're not watching them.
Yeah, that's right.
Those sorts of things, when they are expected to self-manage, if it's not spelt out very clearly and you don't have an employee handbook, which I don't still have at the moment, I'm starting to seriously go, yep, need to have this, an employee handbook. This is what you can be performance managed on, or this is what your expectations are, written clearly.
It's just having the time to look at that thing and pour all the energy into building that resource. And it's the same, I've spoken to my accountant about going into being a company, and the reasons behind that. And she's like, and then she brings up do you have any health and safety measures, policies and procedures? And I'm like, not really. She's like, that's probably something you want to think about. I'm like, cool, but when?
I think that it's not necessary to have that to be a company instead of a sole trader, but it is smart to have policies and procedures in place when you've got employees. And you and I are both in that situation of trying to manage a small business with 1 to 5 employees. Any point in time, you might have more or less. I talked to a friend who has done a lot of writing policies and procedures, and I actually interviewed Steve Ween not too long ago. He's one of the guys in LMCA that does write those sorts of documents for people.
Yeah.
And we talked about the fact you can easily Google work health and safety policies.
ChatGPT now.
Well, compared to 2.5 years ago when we talked, AI is so useful for doing those sorts of things.
Yeah, and I'm not even really using it. Every now and again I'll dabble, but yeah, true, actually. I forgot about that.
I just asked AI to write a letter of demand to Facebook to see why I'm not on Facebook anymore. So, get a legal letter that says, please explain.
Oh, God, that's... Yeah, and then so employees wise after that, I thought, I don't know what the deal is, and then I advertised on Seek again, and I had lots of applicants, and one of the guys was like an older Kiwi guy, and he had really good references, and so anyway, he came on board, and he was great, and his story was his wife had an issue with her back that was like ongoing, and they had 5 kids.
Wow.
So he needed to be around if her back went out. Sometimes it would just give way, and he would have to be, picking the kids up from school or helping her or something. So he needed the flexibility, and he couldn't work like out on a mine site. And he was great. And so they had kids really young, and his oldest son was 20, and he then came and did some work. He was a 20-year-old. It wasn't he needed a lot of motivation, but it worked well because at that point, the dad was so onto it that he sort of rallied the son. And without me having to just be constantly like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Kind of thing.
So he became like a team leader for you.
Well, he was essentially, yeah. And then what ended up happening was at that time, I was like, "Well, do you guys feel comfortable to start going out and doing some jobs on your own?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure." So, and then I did a retic job, so like reticulation, sprinklers and watering and that, and that sort of started build. I don't know whether she told people or it was just like the universe just knew. I don't know what happened there. But then one of the real estate started ringing me saying, "Oh, do you do retic?" And I'm like, "Well, not really, but like I've done it. I fixed my partner's retic at his house in Meriden when I was living there. I dug it all up and figured out solenoids and control boxes and replumbed in and yeah, anyway. So the boys would go out and do the yards or lawns or whatever was on for the day, and then I would put my retic work on those days because I don't really need like a guy or two guys just standing over me while I'm like,
Yeah.
And in the end, it actually worked good because when the son wasn't working and I just had the dad, he would dig all my holes, and then it was much quicker. So it was good, but I find the retics hard to slot in when it's not really two. Like sometimes it's just a one person job. So
Yep.
yeah.
So you really need it. You need to have your employees out there managing your regular maintenance while you go and focus on the retic, or have somebody else that does the retic for you.
Well, yeah, and then she ended up needing to have some stuff in Perth, so he left, and then I had another 20-year-old guy, and he was really good worker, super keen, not very reliable on a Monday or a Friday. And then it was just I didn't hear from him on a Monday, and then I didn't hear from him all week, and I'm like, "Bro, where are you?" And oh, sorry, and then so he comes back to work, and I'm explaining to him, in order for you to have a job, I have to build up enough work for both of us. So then when you don't come, I have to do two people's work, and not only is that hard on me, but the clients are waiting. Like I'm pushing people back to try and scramble to get everything done. And I was like, not cool. Yeah, no worries, won't happen again, literally the Monday. And I said, look, sorry, I don't have a job for you. Oh, please, can I have a second chance? I said, I have given you plenty of chances.
It's not the second chance, it's the 12th chance. And see you later.
And I was just constantly scrambling to either build work or catch up with the work that he put me behind on. So, and then I just got to the point where I was like, I'm just going to wait for my partner to, if someone comes along, cool, I'll entertain it. Oh no, sorry, I had another an older guy. I didn't realize how old he was. He was like 65.
Yeah.
And he went really well. And then he rolled his car on the way home so he was living in Kalgoorlie.
Yeah.
And we went to the show on the weekend, which is in Kalgoorlie, and I seen him bumped it, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, I'm not be at work on Monday. I rolled my car on the way home on Friday night," and we'd seen this car in the ditch driving out that day, and he had turned out drink driving, and then when he came back to work on the Tuesday, he wasn't right, and I just said, "Look, I can't afford to have someone not being right at work. Like you have to be on here. If you step out in front of a car or you spray something you shouldn't or mow something you shouldn't, or I'm just one person here, and I cannot be you're a liability to me, essentially."
He comes from a generation where you can turn up to work on Monday, unlike the young guy. You can turn up to work while you're dusty. And just
but Dusty's different. It's like he'd banged his head kind of thing.
Wow.
He wasn't really
it
wasn't like he'd mowed the back and then put the mower away and like completely forgotten about the front part of the lawn. What are you doing? And
how was he still standing?
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. Anyway, and that was so I'm not the employees has just been hard and
yeah. I talked to quite a few people about this, and the most recent interview I did where we had some really positive ideas, it came down to going, all right, you put a seek ad out. I can't get my words in the right order. And get 100 applicants, and you might struggle to get 100 applicants in Kalgoorlie, but
No, I actually got quite a few, but a lot of people that weren't here were replying. It's like people want to move here,
yeah.
but they're gonna, it's like, oh, yeah, continue.
So Tony was saying, Tony from down in Melbourne, Tony Fagan, he's saying you might get 100 applicants. You filter it down to between 3 and 10 that are worth interviewing.
Yeah.
And out of those people who you actually line up for an interview, you might get 3 to 4 interviews instead of 10. And then you go and pick one person out of that. And the filtering process to actually get from that 100 people down to one that's actually going to be a half decent employee is really important. And for him, he's running a successful business in Melbourne, and his interview is well worth listening to, because we're not talking about
write it down. I'll listen back.
We're not talking about making $400 an hour or anything crazy. We're talking about a average Aussie battler. And he comes from the UK, so when we call him Aussie battler, it's still tongue in cheek. But no, it's a really cool story.
Yeah.
And the lessons he's learnt from employing people through Seek versus employing his brother-in-law, or all the different things we do where we go through somebody we know first.
And I think that's, you just have to start somewhere, because I've learnt so much even from the employees that I have had.
Yeah.
But where I'm at now is, I'm a lot more purposeful on who I hire. I'm not just like, oh, you want to work? Oh, because I'm getting to the point where people will call me and say, hey, have you got any work? I've got experience, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh yeah. Before I'd be like, yeah, cool. Like, I'll just take anyone. Anyone wants to work, I'll take, when do you want to start? Whereas now I'm like, oh, have you got a resume that you can email me? Do you have references on there? Because I wouldn't even have rung a reference before, because I'm just like, yeah, just cool, come start.
Yeah.
I need a hand. Whereas now I'm a lot more hire slow, fire fast. That's where I'm sort of at. Like, I just take my time, not just taking anybody, because you're just getting a whole lot of hassles and headaches with doing that.
Yeah.
And then you've got to try and get rid of them nicely. I mean, it might have only ever been casual, but it's still not a nice conversation to have.
Yeah. So one of the other things I've focused on recently with the podcast is looking at what people use to manage their business. So software like Xero or a CRM app, so that you can schedule and manage employees through the CRM.
Mm-hmm.
So have you moved down that path? Because I think most people start with paper diary or Apple or Google Calendar.
So I'm running Apple Calendar, and I've probably done all the trials for all the CRMs.
Yeah.
But again, it's that having the time to focus in and implement something. So I listened to your podcast with, was it Kyla from Thoughtscape?
Yeah, so Kyla McDonald with Thoughtscape. But so we did 3 episodes that were specifically targeted at Thoughtscape, but I've also found half a dozen people I spoke to around the same time are all using Thoughtscape, so it's really cool. I did one a year and a half ago with ServiceMate as well. So ServiceMate, I would say, is going to take you more deliberate actions to get it set up really well, whereas Thoughtscape, you can just sort of fall into it with the setup and get it moving really easily. It's known as being simpler and easier to get rolling off the bat, and that is really attractive.
I've had ServiceMate because I got that up and running when I had the father and son.
Yeah,
so he could have the app. He knew where to go, because I'm like, well, I'm not. If I don't implement the stuff, it's like you need to set it up and then they will come. Like if you need to go and buy the uniforms, and then the employees will just, if you're putting that energy out there, I think, that it will just be provided. The stuff just happens if you start opening the door.
Yeah, and I think there's real practical steps you can do that are putting the energy out there, right? And those things are all about you having that image in your head, not just in your head, but also in front of you. Of I have employees,
I guess.
Have employees, I have uniforms, I have an employee handbook, and I have a scheduling app.
Yeah, that's right. So I liked ServiceMate, but it was just clunky. It was, and again, maybe because I didn't have all the time to actually really go down that road. But I have done the trial again for Thoughtscape, and I'll possibly reach out to Kyla or go back and listen to your other ones. Because I listened to one,
Yeah.
so there must be other ones in there.
So I would say the difference between those two, and of course there's a bunch of other apps out there. People listening to this will be going, "Oh, Gary's pushing one of these." I'm like, no.
Yeah, there is others, yeah.
Have you thought about using a customer service app to manage your clients, your scheduling, your invoicing? If you haven't thought about this yet and you've got more than 5 customers, it's time you did. It will improve your efficiency in scheduling. It will improve your efficiency in invoicing. It will improve your efficiency if you have employees that are out doing the jobs for you. Visit sortscape.com/Aussie Lawn Stars to join up now.
And to be fair, if you go to sortscape.com/Lawn Stars, then yeah, you can sign up and I get a little bit of a smile from it, right? But that aside, ServiceMate, you want to spend $1,000 to $2,000 with a paid partner that actually sets it up for you. So with ServiceMate, it is
I didn't
designed.
realize that was a thing until I listened to that podcast of yours, and I was like, right, okay, I think this is the key.
Yeah.
Having one of these working for you is just to having that support. I didn't realize that there was people that did that.
So with ServiceMate, I'd describe that as you pay for somebody who has the technical expertise, kind of like a programmer or a coder that goes in and sets up the back end of ServiceMate so that it works well for you.
Yeah.
They have been making a lot of changes to it to make it more friendly to repeat service businesses like lawn care, any maintenance business.
I found the repeating function was weird on it.
Yeah.
And
But they're working on that.
Yeah.
Whereas Sortscape is simpler to set up. It is designed specifically for people with repeat maintenance work, so us.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get a free day or free hour with Kyla when you are on the paid service to help you get it working well for you. And even so, it's still simple for you to set up without Kyla, but she knows it well. And she comes from a background of using CRMs elsewhere, so she understands the functionality well.
Well, for me, when I listened to that episode and it's this female brain thing, I just sort of thought, if it's working for her, you know, like men can recommend things, but our brains just work a bit differently. And I sort of thought, I was like, right, if she thinks this is good and it's working well for her and she's got all this knowledge in it, I think maybe that this might be something that that's why I sort of thought I might try that one.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, what is it? For you, it'd probably be the lowest cost entry price to start using it. Unless you're going to add a couple employees back in, then you'd probably just go with the single user option on Sortscape, and it'd be fairly easy for you to manage that.
And then other than that, I'm running Xero. So
yeah.
Yep, that's good. Trying to teach myself all the things, because I messaged you long time ago, but I'm still struggling on the accountant front.
Yeah, and I was talking about my accountant for quite a while there. Now, I'm not pushing them at the moment. They're very busy and they've had a couple of structural changes, so I'm not promoting them on the podcast anymore. Mm-hmm. But yeah, certainly finding an accountant that understands business accounting, not just doing a tax return, really important.
Yeah, and then my mind just goes down this rabbit hole of, maybe I should just go and do a bookkeeping course with all my free time. Like,
free time, yeah. What's that?
The problem is, it's like I don't know the questions that I should be asking. I can look at my Xero. You know, like I love doing all the reconciling. I'm getting a little bit savvy with, someone overpays me. I can figure out how to put that as like a credit on their account and then use that next time. And then, I add my receipts in, and I like Xero. It's a cool program. I can get my head around it. But it's like, and I think, I've got friends that are like, oh, we just do our own best. And I'm like, do you just do this and then this and this? And they're like, yeah, I think so. But my thing is that every quarter when the best comes around, my accountant is always like, oh, can you provide me this? Or do you have this? Or there's always something that they're tweaking or fixing. So I don't feel confident to just do my best. Is it, I don't know. I just.
So I would say, and full disclosure, I'm not doing my own BAS at the moment, but to bringing this up, I'm going, yeah, I should do my own. Because it's not that hard. So it is literally a case of going, okay, if all your information's already in Xero, then you just need to identify the things that are relevant to you're probably doing quarterly BAS, 3 months.
At the moment. But I've seen the ATO is pushing a heap into monthly. I don't know who's going to under that, but
yeah, okay. And it might be easier to do it monthly because there's less things to process. But if you're using
you're
Zero,
paying like $300 to $500 a quarter for your bass a month. Like that's
well, if you're doing it yourself, then
that's
it's not a problem, right?
yeah.
And it's probably a lot quicker to do a 1 month than it is to do a 3 month. But if you've got Zero or any of your accounting packages set up well, then most of the information's already done.
So I listened to your podcast with Katie from Profit First.
Yeah.
And I'm just dealing with her at the moment.
Oh,
They've
awesome.
just done a full, they've done like a Zero review for me.
Yep.
And there's just so many things in there, little niggly things that like the accountants aren't picking up on.
Yep.
But why? So if all that's getting left as well, and then I start doing my own bass, I'm like, what is this going to turn into?
Well, the cool thing there is you're paying good money for Katie or one of her recommended people to get that set up. You can also stay with them to do your BAS or your tax return as
I've
well.
looked into that. It's probably out of my budget.
Fair enough.
So they like to provide it's a weekly service. You have to pay a weekly amount, and that's it. And I can understand why they're doing that, because a lot of people like me who want to do some of it myself, but then they've still got to go in and review everything anyway, which is still time consuming. So I think they're probably like me, choosing my clients, the ones who want to come on, they want the full service. Then that way they've got their handle on every part of it, and they're not having to like dig and dive through things like once a quarter or once a year and just have a shit show to deal with.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what they charge for their weekly service, but I think that's probably more useful when you've got half a dozen employees and you're going, okay, I want to focus on managing my employees and scheduling and let them handle the back end with the accounting.
When it comes down to, that time is where you're better spent elsewhere. Whereas I just do it when I do my invoicing.
You're happy to do it yourself.
Yeah. So I'm like, is there a service where I do, and they were like, no, this is what we offer. I'm like, oh, cool. So they're doing the review. We'll do a whole big fix of all the things, and then I'll just figure out my next steps from there. So
yeah, but it sounds to me like with a little bit of help on the bookkeeping side of things, you could do your own BAS statements quite easily. You probably just need somebody to process your tax returns.
Yeah, I think that's possibly where I'll get to. Yeah, we'll see how we go. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think with my Zero, I've got it set up so it automatically processes. Well, I still got to do the reconciling, but it automatically processes fuel that is for equipment versus fuel that is for the vehicle, so I can make sure I'm claiming the road excise back from fuel.
What do you mean by automatically processes?
So it's set up with different fields. So when you go in to do your reconciling, you go, okay, this fuel I bought from that service station, which is petrol, and it's all
at different service stations to do that for it to pick
no, as long as it's a separate invoice. But I find it with a separate service station, it's easier for me because I go to BP for my equipment fuel. It's really close to where I'm working most of the time, and it's just every time that comes in.
What unleaded do you run in your gear?
Sorry,
what unleaded do you run in your gear?
95. Yeah, I'll go 98, but 95 is available, and it is as good as what I need. I don't go for anything that's got ethanol in it. Definitely don't want that.
What is ethanol?
Ethanol. So your E10 fuel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't use that ever. I would use 91, but 95 is where I'm happy. That's giving me it's better octane rating than 91.
Yeah.
Don't need the octane rating of 98. It doesn't make a difference to your equipment. And to be honest, the 91 is going to be good enough for your lawnmowers and your whipsnips and everything.
So I've found here in the summertime, especially, my gear runs absolutely rubbish with the heat, which is why I went down the battery road to try and eliminate that on the hot days where things just stall out. You just put it on the ground and it just doesn't, like anything over 35 degrees, I think it starts carrying on.
Yes.
So the steel shop here has said 98, 100%.
and that will make a difference. But what they didn't tell you is that most of the still tools will still get, I'm going to call it a vapor lock, but it's not actually a vapor lock, but I get a reaction with the heat where it doesn't cycle the fuel through the carburetor well.
Yeah.
The technical aspect seems to be the line that goes back into the back of the air filter, where it gets a bit of fuel in the air filter, and then it stops that line from recirculating air properly. So it doesn't work well.
That definitely is what it is doing. Something like that is what it's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, so that issue is known with still equipment, and I still like my still equipment. Like you, I've got battery handheld gear. I very seldom pick up a petrol handheld tool, and
So I'm still
no
running.
issue.
I have the combi, the battery combi, and the petrol combi.
Yeah,
I've got the KM94 RC. Is
Yep.
it? That's
Yeah.
the petrol, and I've also had the 131, which is the next one up, petrol.
The 94 is prolific for having that issue on hot days. The 131 doesn't seem as bad, but
The
still gets it.
131 is too heavy for me.
Yes.
And it's too powerful. I don't need that. It's really hard to, not hard to start, but it's unnecessarily hard to pull for me. If I was doing that
Yep.
over and over, the 94 just is that whippersnapper. I'm on my second one now.
Yep.
That thing just absolutely gets flogged, just day in, day out, and it just takes it.
For residential jobs, you could probably get away with 4 batteries, maybe 6 batteries, and a battery whippersnapper and a battery blower.
So I have the battery combi. I don't know what one it is. I can't remember. Takes the big batteries anyway. I don't like it. It's
Fair enough.
I have it and I use it.
Yeah.
Specific things. So it permanently has my pulsar attachment on it and my equipment defender rack. So I have the petrol combi tool on the bottom, and then I have the battery one in the middle of a rack with the pulsar, and then I have the third rack. It just sits empty at the moment because I don't have employees. So and I don't like the battery one because of the push and the push with the
trigger,
one.
yeah.
And then it self-regulates its battery. I don't even know what you call that. The lights, the power.
Okay.
It just, you'll be on 3 and then it just drops you back to 1 and you're like, why is my speed like so crap? And then it just, I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know whether it's something I'm doing or it just does its own thing.
It sounds like it's doing its own thing. I'd be getting that checked out. But the other thing is I much prefer the dedicated tools than the multi-tools. So I'd much rather run a dedicated whippersnapper and dedicated hedge trimmer and dedicated pulsar. But I understand you got a 3-position trimmer rack. You don't want to be carrying 10 tools on it.
I like the versatility of, like, say we've got a big job and I need 2 people on a whippy, done. We've got 2 whippies. If I need if we need 2 people hedging, we can have 2, or I like or someone can be whipping, someone can be hedging. Like, I like having that versatility.
Yep.
Or edging. I don't want to take an edger and a hedger and a pole saw and I don't want to have anything like, it would bother me to have the dedicated tools. I like to think I have all the attachments now. I just have them all slotted in the front of the canopy. And for me, they work really well.
Yeah.
The thing I find with the battery whippy, I like, I think I'm just so used to the revs on the whippy.
On the petrol one, yeah.
Yeah. And I like how it's easy to regulate. I know what it's doing, and I can feather it or whatever. Whereas the battery one, I don't know what it is. I'm not used to it. And the overarching reason, there was 2 reasons I bought the battery whippy was, number 1, the fuel situation with the summertime.
Yep.
Just trying to pull something in the summer. You have to be really careful you don't put it down in the sun. If you're going to turn it off and put it down in the shade. Like, that does help. But even just leaving the trailer out in the sun somewhere, you try and get it off and you're just like, oh God, you're just literally holding in the throttle and just like ripping it and just, forcing it through.
The trick I found works best with that is to squeeze the fuel bulb until it's really full with fuel.
Just keep priming it.
So if you prime the fuel bulb twice on a hot day, it will just be like it's pumping air. It's not getting fuel through. Whereas if you pump it about 10 times, what you'll find is that whole line will be filled with fuel again, and then it seems to work better.
Okay.
But, I mean, you're still getting problems on 35-degree days. So you're going to get it.
I have found switching to the different fuel has definitely helped. I don't think I noticed it anywhere near as bad last summer. And then the other thing with the battery whippy is I actually bought it because I thought it was going to be lighter.
Yeah.
So for me, hanging on to a whippersnapper for long periods of the day, like I'm trying to think about my self-preservation. And obviously being, like this for a majority of the day, this side just gets all crooked up and the vibration and the fumes. So I thought, I'll go down this battery road. Surely it's going to be lighter, and it's not. It's actually heavier.
So I'm not brand affiliated with any of the handheld tools as we speak. And I will say this, so complete transparency, I'm not getting paid by anybody. I've got Ego, I've got Husky with the battery gear, and I've got Still with my petrol gear. The best brand for weight
I know what you're going
distribution
to say, and I'm going to have a reply for this. Yes, go.
on the battery gear is the Husky.
So I have the petrol Husky, and after Tim the Lawnmower Man and everyone bloody recommending it, I don't like how the weight, I know it's lighter,
Yeah.
but I find the grass, when you're trying to do that flat cut, it doesn't sit down because it's so light. The grass just pushes it up, whereas the Still one, it's slightly forward heavier, and it really sits on the grass and gives it a really nice cut. I find the Husky is, because it's so light, it tends to just surf more over the grass, and I don't like that.
Okay. So that's my thoughts. If you go to Husky with their multi-tool, they've got the 525 multi-tool or the 325 multi-tool in the battery lineup, and you run that as a whippersnapper. So it's got the battery at the back behind your hand, and it's just, you can put a speed feed head on it or whatever. I think that gives you a really lightweight tool. None of the other battery brands are going to match that weight. They're all about a kilo or 2 kilos heavier than the Husky.
Batteries, the 300 S's. I heard you talking about batteries.
Yeah.
The other day with someone, and I didn't realize there's a 500S or something in the Still.
Yes.
And I'm like, man, there's no way I would be able to, like, I've got the 300, I've got 3 of the 300s, and I've got a 200 because that came in my backpack sprayer.
Yeah.
And like the 300s are 1.8 kilos just in the battery, and then you've got the tool itself, and then also something that I've not heard anyone talk about. But as a female, thinking about weight in my arms, so I bought the Equipment Defender racks, which are great. Like, I get so many comments on them. They work perfect for what I need them for. I can't lock my trailer away. It's in a carport. So literally it has to be locked on there. But those little clamps are more weight on the bar.
Yeah.
They were like 300 grams. I think I weighed them years ago. I think that's what they were.
Yep.
I mean, not a lot, but it adds to it when you're hanging on to it. Then I got the whipper gripper and put that on. Again, it's just all adding weight to the bar. So when my combi tool, the petrol one, it didn't cook itself. I think the carb is blocked, and I just haven't had time to clean it. I literally just bought a new one because I just needed it. I haven't transferred the whipper gripper over because I just don't need that extra weight. Obviously, I need the clamps for the Equipment Defender racks, but I just haven't transferred because it all just adds up for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I prefer running without the whipper gripper and without the clamps on it and keeping it lighter weight. But yeah, so in saying that, I've used the Still FSA 200 recently.
What is that one?
So that's one of the newer battery ones.
Okay.
On Still, and I really liked it. I felt like the weight was quite easy to manage. It wasn't overweight. It was great. But yeah, going up to that 500S battery, the price is more of a put off than the weight.
Oh, yeah. I heard you talking about that. I was like, that's interesting. You was talking about value for money. The 300 is better. Yeah.
So in terms of run times, how many batteries you need, all that sort of thing, that was Chris from Full Throttle was saying that. He stays with the 300S.
Is he up north somewhere?
Yeah, Cairns.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk to Still about that again, see if I can get a longer demo on the FSA 200 so I can give people some real feedback on that. I'm also hoping to get a hold of it.
Go out and figure out which one I actually have. I can't remember what the battery one I have. But I have the battery hedger, which is great. Yep. And
you might have the 135 in the multi-tool, the KM.
Yes, I think that. Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was a pretty common one. The 200 was released more recently, so it should have a little bit more power than the 135, but I think the 135 has plenty of power. You still run either of those, you run the risk of flattening the battery in 15 minutes if you are doing heavy work.
Well, that's the thing. And now I just use the battery one. You know, if I'm up on a ladder I don't take the petrol up on the ladder because when
Yeah.
it falls out, you're up on a ladder. This was the other issue I was having. You know, you're trying to do hedging on a hot day and you're up on a ladder and it's
Yeah.
fucking keeps stalling out. Excuse me.
Yeah.
It was getting very old. So that's the other thing. I just have the pole saw on the battery one or the hedger attachment on the battery one. And I use my, short hedger, and then I'll use the big one if I need to, get on the top of anything.
Yeah.
And that system seems to work well. And I have a pair of the power pruners and then just a pair of the secateurs. What's that, red Velcro or Felco?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, Felco number 9's probably the popular one.
Whatever I could get from Bunnings, but I look at all the little I really would love to get some of like the shears, or try something else for hedging because I am starting to get a fair bit of the hedging, which I don't love because it's just so hard on the body. It's very
Well, I've just bought the handheld topiary shears recently, and they are really fun to use when you're doing balls and whatever that's smaller and intricate. So they're great. But for straight lines and everything like that, the electric hedge trimmers, your multi-tool's still going to give you what you need. And I guess that's another reason why I don't like the multi-tool, because if you get a dedicated hedge trimmer, it's lighter weight. Less weight to be working with when you're doing hedges and not wrecking your shoulders.
Dedicated hedge trimmer, as in like a long pole one that we're talking about?
Well, I go for the short pole or the normal handheld one, so I can switch between those depending on what I'm doing.
Oh, the short pole, yeah.
Yeah, so
True.
Husky's short pole is, again, Husky builds the lightest commercial quality tools, and I'm not going to promote Husky. I'm not saying everyone run out there and get Husky. Yeah. They do build really lightweight tools. I've also had a lot of warranty claims on them.
And that's the thing. And my Husky Whippy was doing something strange with the revs. It's either on and it's wringing its neck out, or there's no feathering. I don't know whether it was an issue. Yeah. And then so I dropped it off. It's basically brand new, and I dropped it off to the guy, and he took 6 months, and I rang him after 2 months. Oh, I'm doing it today. It's right here. And I ring him a month later. And he tells me the same thing. I'm like, man, you're just lying. Like, you're just flat out lying to me. So there's no servicing here for Husky. Yep. Still is the only thing, like, other than what you want to buy from Bunnings. So
fair enough. And for the most part, Still's building really good quality tools. So most of them should be really good. I'm surprised that you find the battery is not reliable and consistent for you.
Only because of the weight factor. I don't even like whipping with it. I find it's just
Yep.
Yeah, I will if I have to, or like if I run out of fuel, say.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen very often, but it's good to have a backup.
But yeah, you were saying the trigger is also not great on it, and the power changing on it.
The power changing, yeah. Maybe I need to do some researching there, but it just seems to you have it set on 2. I like it on 2, and then all of a sudden it'll be on 1, and I'm like, well, I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm doing something wrong when I'm pushing the triggers or something.
It is bizarre, but it shouldn't change.
It could just be an operator malfunction.
We'll blame you being a Kiwi.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, no.
Interesting one. Yeah, so we've covered a fair bit of tools. Now, one of the tools that we talked about in their interview 2.5 years ago was the idea of the powered secateurs. So did you mention...
So I have those.
The Still ones?
I had that. No. So they've only recently bought them out. I had a pair of AEG ones. They were great. Then all of a sudden they just died. And then they didn't have any, and Bunnings didn't have any of the AEG ones. So I got a DeWalt pair because I have some DeWalt batteries from my initial drill and impact driver set that I had. And that one's great. It's just very big. It's a lot bulkier. But
the Still one has to be one of the most ergonomic and lightweight ones that I've seen.
Well, it's much smaller, and I was going to buy my partner one for Christmas, but they weren't in yet. And I will buy that set once this pair dies.
I've got the Milwaukee one, and I love it, but it is a little bit heavier and bulkier than the Still one, but not quite noticeable when you look at them.
I looked at the Milwaukee one, and just the price difference, I was like, nah, I'll just wait for Still. And the thing is with the Still stuff, everything I've had of Still has been great.
Yeah.
Other than like a few little minor issues like what I was saying before. But every time I've bought something that's not Still, it's just given me the shits. So I just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not to mention it's another brand of battery you got to buy and charge and deal
Yeah,
with.
that's it. Yeah, I have a few little Milwaukee bits and pieces. I bought a little a stick pole water vacuum for when I'm doing my retic, when my holes are full with water and I'm like sitting
Oh,
there
yeah.
scooping them out. So I just bought one of those and just goes and just pumps all the water out. Works okay.
They are cool. Yeah.
Pardon?
They're cool. I thought about buying one. I'm like, I don't even need it. I just want one.
They're really satisfying to use, and you just standing there like you're doing nothing, and then it's like, oh, I'm done now, and off I go, digging back in my hole.
Yep.
Yeah, so those types of things that, yeah, I'm like, I pretty much have all my gear now. I'm not really, I'm not spending a lot on gear. I'm just running the Honda HRU 216. I always get this mixed up. I want to call it a 7, but I don't think it's a 7. It's a 216.
So the 216 is the self-propelled one, 21-inch one. So you weren't running that last time we talked.
Oh, wasn't I?
Because I was asking about it, and you'd just bought the Bush Ranger, the walk behind, not self-propelled, and the not the. I'm trying to think what it is.
I had a mass sport mower. I was lifting mowers into the back of my ute at the time. When I
you bought the
started.
Super Swift.
Oh, yes. So I bought a little Bob, the
Yep.
Super Swift, yeah. So at the start, I had a Holden Rodeo ute and just a trailer that had a botched cage on it that my brother-in-law had put on it.
Yeah.
And so I was lifting all my gear in and out of the back of the tub. And, so shoot, that's going back. So after that, I bought a Toyota Hilux, the 3-liter diesel, and pretty much after I bought that, it was like, well, to be able to build this business, I need that car to be a dedicated rig, and I need another car to like just get around, because to go anywhere or do anything, I'd have to unload all my gear out the back of the Hilux, and then there'd be grease and oil and lawn clippings and crap, just to go away for the weekend. Where am I putting all my stuff?
Yep.
While I'm loading all my camping gear in, and it was just a nightmare. So I was like, right. And this was at the time when I was trying to get advice from accountants on what to do, and I just couldn't get a hold of anyone. And in the end, I bought 2 Hiluxes pretty much 2 months apart. Probably wasn't a good financial decision, but for me as a single parent, and the chaos that brings, it's actually been amazing. So now, So I bought the first Hilux. That's been the dedicated work car. That's solely business.
Yep.
And then I bought the second Hilux, and at the time I bought that, I found a trailer in Perth as well.
Yeah.
And that's got a ramp at the front for the mower, and then at the back it's got a ramp as well. And then it's with enclosed sides. The front's like a mesh, a wire grid mesh.
Yep.
So I couldn't get the self-propelled mower until I had a trailer to put it on, because I couldn't lift the weight of the self-propelled mower into the back of my car.
Yeah.
So, and at the same time,
the issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And then at the same time that I got the trailer, it was like, right, now I can get the mower. So it was sort of just a whole process of that. And then I've just sort of built the trailer up, put the equipment defender racks on. I actually had someone try to steal one of my tools off the other month.
No.
And shout out to the equipment defender racks. They did not get it off. They cut the front bolt off on the front prong.
Yeah, well, yep.
Because I was backing out, and I could see the pole saw was just flapping around.
Yeah.
I was locked in at the back, but the front one, it was just flapping. They'd cut that.
Yep.
But they couldn't get that second one off where the locking mechanism is. And I was like, little buggers.
Sounds like you need a security camera out there looking at it.
I have 3 out there now, but it doesn't matter. They're so keen. They jumped my back fence and stole a bike from literally like outside my door when I was home one day, and I didn't notice until we couldn't find the bike 3 weeks later. And I looked back on the cameras.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. They just
I've got a 5-foot high fence and a Labrador behind it, and people can't see what the dog looks like, so they are not game to jump the fence.
Yeah. So that's been the evolution of the gear. Actually, I didn't realize that it was that far. Yeah, it was that far back.
Have you looked at doing a ride-on now that you've got the ramps at the back of the trailer like that?
I don't really have the work.
Yeah, I thought you might say that.
Yeah, once you leave there's not a lot of roadsides. I mean, there is a couple of guys that I've seen with zero turns.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I like the idea of having a stander, like a narrow stander that I could do, because I have
Yep.
been asked to do a couple of jobs that are like just big grassy areas that I'm not pushing a push mower through that because God
Yeah,
knows.
32-inch stander would be great for that.
Yeah, but I just access, I think, to a lot of my properties front and back, they're like, yeah, I don't know that I would get the use out of it at this stage to pay it for it.
A 32-inch stander will fit through your standard size gate. So a lot of properties you'd find it'd get in and out. It's only really where you've got a really narrow path with an air conditioner
Step
attached to
up,
the house,
or
those
it's
sort of
a
things.
random corner. It's sort
Yeah.
of, yeah. The other thing I've thought about is the robot mowers. I spoke to the steel shop the other day asking if they are getting them in, and they said Kalgoorlie's not getting them because of the dust. They're not releasing them to Kalgoorlie because of the dust.
That sounds like that's the shop making that decision rather than Still Australia.
I don't know, but yeah, I said I was interested. I would like to just get one to trial it because I've got a couple of properties that are quite big and
Yeah.
like no pets that I think would work, but I don't want to go with the whole pegging. I just want to do the satellite ones where you just GPS. But I mean, I think there's other brands. I just
Yes.
haven't gone down that road.
Yeah, so it's been quite a while now. I've been doing robotic mowers, and I don't talk about them a whole lot these days. I've still got them working for me.
Yeah, right.
And where I've got a commercial site where they're doing a substantial part of the work, I think that makes good value. When it comes to Richard Hogan, the guy I interviewed who put, I think, close to 20 of them on his customers' lawns, that model was based on him using the cheapest robot mower he could find. So he was talking sub $1,000 per machine.
Okay.
And last time I checked with him, they were still doing really good. He'd had almost no problems with them, just regular maintenance on them, changing blades out and making sure they're charging properly, that sort of thing.
Yeah, because I mean, the fluctuation and the growth is a pain. Because one part of the year there's not much going on, and the other part of the year it's like the grass just you go back and it's knee high. So it'd be nice to, again, for me, trying to. I haven't figured out the employees to not be working so much. It's like, what else can I do to try and alleviate some of the the toll that the job takes on the body? And if I can have a robot mower that's cruising around, taking away the bulk of the mowing, and just going in and doing the edges and the tidying up and whatever else.
Efficiency is the thing that rules a business and the decisions you make as a small business owner. Right Mowers give you the options in their product lineup to match efficiency with size, fuel usage, and the type of jobs you want to target, from catching to mulching or side discharge, from roadside verges to acreages, and manicured lawns to 6 feet tall and super long. I've been using the Right Stander I 42-inch with a Catch Pro for manicured areas and the Stander ZK61 to maximise productivity for large open acreage mowing. If you need to replace your push mower, try the 32-inch Stander B. If you have more open access to residential properties, there's a 42 through to 48-inch option that suits you. And if you want to enter the acreage market, the 52, 61 and 72-inch machines have choices in engine size and model type to suit the work you want it to do. Right Standards go the distance, saving you time and money, season after season.
So after your interview comes out, the next one I'm going to be doing is with Dirk from Robot Mowers Australia.
Oh, okay.
And I interviewed him probably similar timing to when I interviewed you. And it would have been after yours, definitely. Just trying to think. But we'll go back and talk to him about the changes in robotic mowers over the last couple of years and where they're at now, the different machines that are available and what uses they have, different scenarios. So you'll get a really good feel for whether they would work for you or whether they're not really suitable. The biggest question contractors have here, other than they're going to take my job, is can I take a robotic mower to a customer's lawn, put it back in the trailer and take it to the next lawn? And there's still not really a good use case for that with residential lawns. So you're still buying an individual mower for each lawn that you actually want to put it on.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. True.
There are use cases for that. An interview I did recently with Aidan Andrews from Cox, we looked at the Right ZK. I think it's a 61 inch with the autonomous features set up on it.
Oh yeah.
So that one there, it's still designed so that you're predominantly going to use it in one area. So if we're talking large commercial premises, university, that sort of thing, it operates in that one area all the time. But you can easily program into it as many lawns as you want. Keep in mind, it's a 61-inch machine, so it's not doing residential properties. But you could, with that, you could, in theory, set up to do multiple acreages, and you go, okay, on Monday, I'm taking it to this one. On Tuesday, I'm taking it to that one.
While
And
it's growing, I'll go and whip and do whatever pruning or blowing or whatever else.
it could do 10 acres or 20 acres of mowing that day while you're doing all of the gardening and the edges and all that sort of thing on that acreage, and it would make really good sense.
Yeah, yeah.
The other ones that Dirk sells, which are getting really interesting, are FJ Dynamics. So I had a little bit of a look at them before Dirk started selling them. I actually did a bit of a demo on one locally on the Central Coast here, and it wasn't ready to go to market. Dirk had a look at it, and he goes, actually, they had a couple of issues with that one. It's actually looking really interesting now. That was a 42-inch battery-powered robotic mower. You can sit on it and drive it like a zero turn,
Yeah.
or you can hop off it and let it mow.
That'd be cool.
And now FJ Dynamics have a 21-inch machine as well. So those two machines you can literally program multiple lawns into and put them on the lawn while you do the gardening and the edges and those sorts of things. Again, price point wise, it's going to put a lot of contractors off because they're more expensive than what you're spending on a regular mower. But they're interesting, and we'll talk to Dirk next in a couple of days' time and see what he's got to say about the usefulness for contractors to start looking at using those ones.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean that's probably the biggest thing is just trying to keep free of injury.
Yeah.
And because I mean you're just using the same muscles every day. Everything's getting overused trying to.
You and I are both just a little bit older than 21, and we need to think about these things.
Yeah, definitely. Although my body is doing a lot better than the last time I spoke to you anyway.
Yeah, I think you've put a lot of effort in there, so that's to be commended. The amount of effort you've put into looking after yourself.
It's always sort of been there. I was always sporty in school, and then I mean I've always been a bigger built girl, but in school, you know, you're just so much more active. We just did all the sports, and we were growing up in New Zealand, we were always out doing something, you know, farming or whatever. And then you have kids and you get older and you eat bad food and you drink alcohol and your lifestyle changes a lot. And then having children and your body going through that process as well.
Yeah.
I definitely got to a point where I was like, this is not good for me. I mean, and that was long before I started the business. After I had my daughter, I got up to 122 kilos was my heaviest.
Wow.
Yeah. And I got down to about 95, and then my marriage dissolved and I had to go back to work. I mean, I wasn't working at that point. I was just going to the gym. I wasn't having to worry about where the money was coming from, all that types of things. So the kids were only little, so I just put them in the creche, you know, whole different dynamic. And then when we separated, it was, well, I've got to go and I've got to get a job, and I'm looking after the kids, and there's no time for any of that. And then when I started, and so because of how I did it, it was just diet and lifestyle. I just lifted weights, went to the gym, and just changed what I ate.
Do you have a personal trainer?
I had a lady I had a consult with once, but I roughly knew what to do. I just needed a bit of a push. And generally, I just I'll find people that I click with on social media, and I'll find them, and I sort of use that to sort of motivate me.
Yeah.
And then when I started the business, so I managed to maintain that initial loss. And then when I started the business, I was very stressed. I was just physically wrecked and not cooking and eating a lot of takeaways and just crap. Yeah. And the creep started happening, and I put on 10 kilos. So I was maintaining at about 100 for a while, and then I got up to 108, and I was like, nah. And
Yeah.
at the time, so this was over 12 months ago now. And at the time, a friend of mine had been doing a heap of study, and I always sort of followed her. And so she's a nutritionist, and I got a hold of her. And my biggest thing was, the last time I lost the weight was I could eat well if I exercised and felt great. So you make good choices when you
Yeah.
exercise, and you're like, I'm not going to go home and ruin that, and you're motivated. But my thing with the business was, I was just so wrecked from working.
Yeah.
You just fall in a heap when you get home. And when I first started, I was like, how am I even going to do this tomorrow? Like, how am I going to get up and just do this every day for the next, I don't know how many years? I can't. But
Yeah.
I didn't have a choice. Like, financially, it was the path I needed to be going down.
Yeah.
And then when I started seeing my nutritionist, it was, I was saying to her, I'm like, I don't even know how to get to the gym. Like, when would I go to the gym? My kids weren't old enough to leave at home at this point, and like organizing a creche and all these things. And then she's like, Michelle, like, you're active enough. She's like, don't even worry about the gym. What you're doing for work is enough activity. What we're going to do is, we're not even going to think about the gym. We're just going to focus on your food. She's
Yeah.
like, happy with that? And I was like, sure. Just show me how to eat. Just eat. Like, this is, and anyway, so the first 6 months, I think it was 15 kilos. I didn't even go for a walk, like, outside of what I was doing every
Yeah. Wow.
day with the steps I was doing with work and the physical movement. I didn't even just go for a purposeful walk,
Yep.
let alone go to the gym, and the weight just come off. And
Wow.
then she was sort of like, oh, maybe we might start thinking about doing some type of strength training. And I'm like, yeah,
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
I'm like, when the hell am I going to do that? Like, what? I'm going to come home from work, have a shower, go to the gym, have a shower. Like, I can't go before work, like, because that's just crazy. Who goes to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning?
Yep.
And then, she was working at F45 at the time as a trainer. And I was like, oh, why don't you come along? And I was like, oh, all right. So anyway, I went. And so I was like, yeah, cool. I like this.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
I've been to different types of gym. I've done just like a normal weights gym. I've done CrossFit before.
Yep.
And like I said, I've played heaps of sports. So it
Yeah.
wasn't new to me. It was just finding what worked for me in this stage of life. And then I started going in the afternoons at 4:30. So I'd go home, have a shower, then go to the gym. And that was all right. And then I sort of thought, I'd been listening to a few podcasts. And it was basically, you need to do the things that are hard. Like, the
Yeah.
hard things are where you grow. And I was like, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning is hard.
Yep.
I'm doing that.
Wow.
So I started off at the 6:30 class, but I found that was too hard by the time I got home, and then tried to have enough time to get everyone ready and off to school.
Your
So
kids
it
are still
became-
in high school, yeah?
my kids are in primary school, at the end of primary school.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So now I get up at 5 o'clock and go to the 5:30 class. But what I have found is that I enjoy working out a lot, and
Yeah.
I would go every day. But the problem is, I actually have to rein myself in, because work is so physical
Yes.
that I burn myself out if I work out every day and then deal with all the women monthly fluctuations that go on. I find So that's been a whole evolution. And so I'm at 30 kilos lost since I started the business. I'm down to 76 now. So,
Wow. That's amazing.
and I've never been this weight in my whole life that I ever remember.
Yeah.
Not even when I was like in high school.
And I would say 76 is healthy for you. I'm not sure how tall you are, but you
I'm
look like
170
you're healthy.
centimeters, yeah. I'm quite tall for a girl, yeah.
Sorry, I missed it. I was talking over the top here, sorry.
I'm 172 centimeters,
172.
yeah. I'm reasonably tall for a girl,
Yeah. Yeah. So you've got a huge amount of respect from me for the effort you've put in, and the results are amazing.
And so going back to the social media, I want to show, I like making TikToks and stuff. I like doing it, but I don't want to be sharing stuff about lawns or gardens.
Yeah.
I want to show people that just leading an active lifestyle, however that looks. I want to move in that direction. I think but it's also, it's tricky in my mind, because I want people to see the work I'm doing, if I've got clients coming on or whatever.
Yep.
But I think in general, if they see you as a person and some work and some lifestyle, I think that's still positive in that as well. It's not, I don't know. I still haven't figured that out yet, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for people that are thinking about doing lawn care and gardening, yes, you are going to be more active than when you're doing an office job or something else. It's going to be a step in the right direction. But I've reached the point where a lot of my work is on a ride-on or a stand-on mower, and I'm not as active as what I'd like to be. So
Yeah.
my son's pretty big on going to the gym, and he bounces off this idea that calories in, calories out is all you need to know when it comes to your weight. So,
Mhm.
like you were saying, the diet made the weight fall off for you, and it doesn't matter what you do. If you measure your calories that you consume versus the calories you burn, you can achieve that goal. But much more importantly is weight is not a sign of health, and it's only one of the things. So choosing to do strength training like you're doing is going to give you a massive improvement, like you said, not just with the weight falling off, but also longevity of life and enjoyment at our age.
Yeah.
I've had so many injuries to deal with in my 40s, and I'm in my late 40s now. it's it's a case of going, you know what, if I'm just managing injuries, life's not going to look that great by the time I'm in my 60s, 70s, 80s. So it really comes down to that strength training and working with somebody who understands the physical activity we do. I look at doing upper body because I don't get a lot of upper body strength just from natural effort that I put in every day. So if I don't deliberately do some upper body strengthening, then I feel horrible. I get headaches from the tension in my neck and my shoulders,
Yeah.
all those sorts of things. And yeah, it's something which, like employing people and running a business successfully, if you don't put the effort in, you just sit there floundering along.
And I think that people, I mean, and even I do this now, I think that people have more respect for people that obviously look like they're looking after themselves. Because if you look like you're looking after yourself, you must be looking after other areas of your life and your
Yeah.
business and, whereas if you look like you're not looking after yourself, there's probably not a lot of other things being maintained well in your life. There's
Yeah,
not a lot of balance.
definitely. And I think you can go too far too. I think it's important to make sure that you're balanced in life. If you talk to somebody who's 120 kilos and you go, it's easy to make a judgment just on appearance and go, oh yeah, that they obviously don't look after themselves. But it's important to pull back as a person and go, I need to not judge
Yeah,
somebody in that situation. But if you go over the top and, we're talking fitness influencers that have hundreds of thousands of followers and it's all about the image. And I interviewed one recently, Jackson Mexon. He's running a lawn care business and he used to be a fitness influencer.
Oh, really?
And people are looking for the fake and they're going, oh yeah, he's faked it or he's all BS or there's all this nonsense around it. And it's like, okay, when you're over the top with that side of thing, the fitness influencers cop a lot of criticism because it's all about the image.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
You're not skinny enough. What do you know, kind of
you're
thing.
not skinny enough, not bulky enough, not not right proportions, or you're all doing it on drugs.
Or that's the other thing. Like my body now has changed so much. People will be like, "Oh, like look at your muscles," and my thing is like, it's almost kind of embarrassing. I mean, they look cool. Like, I'm stoked, and I can see abs for the first time I've ever. You're
Yep.
like, oh yeah, they must be there, but like I don't have any kind of thing, because I've never seen them my whole life.
Yep.
And all they've been there the whole time. This is the thing, I've had
Yeah.
body scans all the way along. They're not, they're just like the in body. You just stand on them and you put your hands on them, and they give you
Right.
like a body fat percentage and
Yep.
your visceral fat and all these things.
Yeah.
And my scans have always, I've got a high muscle mass for a girl, but the muscle's always been there. It's just
Yeah.
been covered in excess body fat. And
Yep.
you just literally, yes, you're building muscle, but it's actually hard to build muscle, like intentionally. What
Yeah.
muscle you have, or like at our age, it's quite hard to build more.
Yes.
And so basically all I've done is just essentially just shrink wrap myself.
Yep.
And whatever is under there has been there the whole time. And I'm like, I could have had this the whole time. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And like, I just see people that are struggling, and it's just getting started is the hardest part.
I think what you're saying is really important there, because a lot of girls will be worried that when they exercise, they will start to look masculine. And it's like, no, you've got to do drugs and you've got to put in a huge amount of time in the gym if you're going to start to make your upper body look like a man's body.
Yeah, no, I don't understand that. I've never had that worry. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess I've never been one of those skinny girls anyway. And
Yeah.
and just to be better than what I was, like would be happy with that. So I don't
Yeah.
understand that. I don't want to look like a man, but like muscles are cool, man. Like, they say the grass isn't
Yeah.
always greener on the other side of the fence. Like the grass is definitely greener on the side of the
But
fence.
yeah, I think looking fit is sexy, and you got to be careful using words like that on a
Yeah, no,
podcast.
I get it. It is.
But I think it's good. And I think the only downside, which is not a downside really, but is that you might lose shape where you want it.
Yeah, there's definitely things that have disappeared.
So, I mean, that's good and bad, because some people want that shape, but you can specifically target exercises to build muscle in different places. And we don't need to go down that path. That's not
Yeah.
what this is about. But I think the overall benefit of being fit is one of feeling good about yourself. Like you say, the grass is greener.
Yeah.
And you get the benefit of an enjoyable life from here on, because it
And I
sucks
mean,
when you're in pain all the time.
oh, and that was the other thing, just beds, sleeping on a bed. If I had slept on a hard bed, like we go away on a holiday, my back and my hips would just ache. I would do a bed test and I'm like, I know I'm in for a rough night.
Yeah.
And sleeping in a swag, like on the ground, I would have to have like a double mattress, and even then, and I just, as soon as I was awake in the morning, I'd have to be up and out because I would be just achy and sore. We went away on a holiday, would have been maybe 6 months in, and we slept on the swag for 4 nights. And at the end of the trip, I was like, I'm not even sore. Like, it's inflammation. It's the foods that we're eating causes us to be so inflamed and sore.
Yep.
So now, if I think back to the start when I couldn't even fathom going to a gym, like getting through my day of work, let alone going to a gym. Now I go to the gym in the morning 3 to 4 times a week. I do a full day's work, and then some days in the evening I'll do a walk as well. Like, it's just crazy.
Yep.
You think it's not possible, but like your body is capable of so much more than you think it is.
Yeah.
And like you say, the longevity, that for me is for me, I'm going to go into menopause at some point, and we go through a whole realm of stuff changes with that. And I'm like, I don't want to be going into that how I was. So if I can get myself in the best possible position going into that, but then like my I've got family members that are unwell, and they're like, say 70, and they're like, oh, I've had a good life, and like, but you've got like 30 years to go. What do you mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's that generation too. They just, oh, it's good, 70 or 80, I'll start dying. I'm like, no, I want to get to 90 and die. I don't want to be dying from 50 to 90. I don't want to spend 40 years dying.
Well, I think this is the average in our society, is that people die in their 70s or earlier. They finish work and they don't last very long.
Mm-hmm.
They deteriorate.
Retiring is, once people retire and have no purpose, stop moving.
Yep. My grandmother was in New Zealand, and she broke her hip in her early 90s.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
And she was an active person, right? My dad went over to New Zealand. My uncle went over to New Zealand to visit her. She recovered from her broken hip really well, and back out there walking every day. And then she broke her hip on the other side. And she said to them, I've had a good life in her mid-90s, not in her 70s. I've had a good life. I don't really want to keep on living in this situation. But she still lived to 100. She died just before her 101st birthday. And that's one of those things, like a good life. And it was in her early to mid-90s where she's going, I'm sort of in pain regularly and it's not quite so fun anymore.
Well, I'm trying to think the other side of that with the work stuff is that the fuel and the fumes is probably my main concern. My air quality
Yeah, fair.
And also the dust. So I'm trying to be a bit more mindful with wearing a mask, but it's hard in summer because it's so hot.
Well, you're in an environment where there's a lot more dust than the average Australian.
Yeah. So that's sort of that's probably my only major concern. The fuel fumes definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the dust. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
I actually had my business was nominated for the business awards here.
Awesome. That's unreal.
Yeah. When you think that you're not really getting anywhere, and then all of a sudden you're like, one of my clients, they've got 2 big restaurants here, and she comes out to me the other day and was like, "Have you ever nominated yourself for the business awards or been nominated?" And I was like, "No." So I'm going to nominate you. And she walks inside to her office, and I was like, "Oh Lord!" But it's so nice that you think all these things that you're doing are just part of your normal day. And you're trying to do the 1% where bringing someone's bin in, or you're doing the little extras, and you think no one notices, and then all of a sudden, 4 years in, it's like, oh, maybe people do notice these things.
Well, I know the first time we talked, I asked you about other contractors in Kalgoorlie, and I'm like, okay, that clearly the competition you're dealing with are all cowboys.
They are.
So
Yeah.
you have set yourself apart in that regard, and it's another thing you should be proud of to get that nomination.
Mm.
I've seen one other person I've interviewed a while ago that was nominated in Sydney, and another friend just showed me he actually got the award. He got he got nominated up in Atherton, and he sent me a message whilst we're talking with a picture of his award.
Oh, that's so
unreal.
cool. I mean, I don't have as much competition, so but I'm still not going to take that away.
You're up against other businesses, not just the cowboys in lawn care.
And I wonder if anyone else from a lawn care business has won it, because I've been going, I don't know. It'd be interesting to know, but yeah, it's pretty cool. You don't think people are really paying attention, but they are. and this is one thing that I think a lot is that you don't necessarily have to be doing the best job, but I think if you turn up and you're reliable, and you say you do what you say you're going to do, people won't get rid of you. I mean, over here they won't. I mean, there's not as much price comparison going on over here. People will just pay you if you do those 3 things. Which I think is good and bad. But yeah.
Well, I think that is true where there is competition too, that you will still find you stand out from the crowd if you are doing those things: consistent, reliable, honest work.
Yeah. No, it's been good. It's been a good little I guess the business has grown quite a bit, even though you think.
Yeah,
I thought it was 2 years in we spoke last time. I thought I already had the vehicles, but obviously I didn't.
No, it was after we spoke.
Yeah,
but
right.
No, it's interesting because a lot of people go through that growth shrink thing that I talk about occasionally, where you grow, shrink, grow, shrink.
I do forget about that a lot.
I think the first thing I realized, and other people realize too, is putting on employees, you don't necessarily make more money. So when you go through that initial shrink phase, it's often a growth phase anyway, because you're going, I don't need those employees. I can make more money without them. And you find yourself, your business has actually gone through growth. You've gone through personal growth in that process. And the next time you put on an employee, you've got deliberate, more intention behind it and more business growth behind it.
Or you've gone and decided, oh, well, I'm not going to have employees, but I'm going to put my prices up, and so then the next time when you do go to get employees, your prices are up, and then you have employees. The only thing with the employees is that I would like to go away on a holiday and have things still be working.
Yes.
But I don't know if that's as easy as that sounds either.
I guess that is a big challenge. I've done it successfully with a few holidays that are sort of 2 to 3 weeks or less. I've done number of holidays that are like half a week or whatever, but I've done a few that are 2 or 3 weeks away. And it is challenging to go, okay, is everything going to be okay when I get back? Do I trust that it's all taken care of?
You really switch off.
Yeah.
Or are you better just turning the whole business off and going away and just being done with it?
You're literally on holiday sitting there going, I know I'm going to get a call.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I've got a client, I was talking to him about this. They've got a massive business here, And he said, I could go anywhere in the world. I can go anywhere I want, but I'll never be left alone. There'll always be something. The phone will always be ringing.
I've had employees where I'm going, okay, I'm not available, and they're okay with going, all right, if something goes wrong, I'll go to the mower shop, buy the parts, and carry the bill.
Yeah, right.
And it's like that's the sort of leadership qualities that you can trust to go, okay, they're taking care of not just the work, but also if something goes wrong, they can manage it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be done.
Oh, well, maybe. I'm not done yet. We'll keep trying.
Room for personal growth as well as great business growth when you get those ones sorted out. And like I said, I'm not there. It's just things that you go through and you go, okay, do you change things? Do you want to grow where you're looking for employees that are leaders, not just cutting grass?
And I think too, when I've had people ringing me, I think like I've started getting clients to do Google reviews again, trying to start pushing that. So you've got a bit more like of a presence or like a web presence. So it's not just for clients, but it's for people who want to come and work for you as well.
Yeah.
And I had this guy the other day ring me for a quote, and he was just like, I just want to get it done. He works for a company and he's away a lot. And I said, oh,
Yeah.
how did you, he said something and he said, oh, I've already looked you up. I've already researched you. I know that I want you, And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? He's like, I read all your reviews. They're all great. And I was like, oh, like, cool. And every time I think I must like push that more, because surely that's what, it's obviously what we all do, but you just sort of, you get complacent on it. And, yeah, that was interesting. That was interesting to do that, but then also have employees be able to look at your business and go, oh, I want to be a part of that, or I like what they're doing, or I like that. What is that community? What do you call it? The culture.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and even like going to these things like business awards and getting your name out there. Like, I don't advertise. Anytime somebody wants something done on Facebook, oh, is there any lawn mowing people? I never put my name down. Always like cowboy. And I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that, but I want to be a part of like the bigger picture in Kalgoorlie. The bigger stuff that's going on, or the people, the person that the businesses or people who are really serious about having someone come and do a good job. I want to be the person that they call, not just any random cowboy that's listed on Facebook.
It's a nice feeling when you see cowboys putting their name in for a job on Facebook, and then you see after, countless jobs that they've chased, you see a job come up on Facebook and you're like, I'll message that person, but I'll do it privately. I don't want my name on there. Yeah. And you know that you've got the reputation. You've done the hard work to build your business reputation. So, if you're the one that contacts that person, you've got a really good chance that they'll go, oh yeah, we want Michelle, not the other person.
Well, I sort of look at all those people that have commented and I think, well, they're obviously not busy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Whereas I'm like, I just go through phases where I just say no to everyone on the phone.
Yep.
And I am pretty judgy on the phone now. Like, I'll be very picky if they sound like they've got a good attitude. They're respectful. They've got, they know what they want, but they're not like, oh, I can pick people on the phone who I'll entertain to quote. If I can't understand them on the phone, generally I don't go and quote, because or they want it done yesterday. I'm sorry, I'm actually fully booked at the moment.
Yep. Yeah, that's it.
And that's, I mean, it sounds a bit harsh, but it's the same as the hiring slow. I pick my clients slowly now. I don't just take on everyone and anything and then get burned and then get the shit jobs and get my quotes wrong. I'll be much more purposeful about what I take on, and I tell people I'm not the cheapest, because I take longer because I like to do a good job.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, that's fine. Like, we understand, or some people that's like, oh, it's out of my price range. Like, oh, look, I'm sorry. Well, then, I'm probably not your gardener, but there are, there's heaps of people, doing it. You might be you'll find someone that's in your price range.
Yeah.
Based on what kind of job you're going to get.
Yeah. And I found it's good to have a couple of the other guys on the phone list and go, okay, if I'm too expensive for this person, here you have a talk to this person here. They still do quality work, but they'll be in your budget.
Yeah, I mean, and I talk to heaps of people at the tip, and I've got a few clients from the tip actually as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get a gauge of. I haven't seen any of their work, so if someone says, "Can you recommend someone?" I say, "Well, I can't recommend their work.
Yeah.
I can only recommend, based on what I know of the person."
Yep.
And then based on that, it's up to the person to do their own research and look at their Facebook photos and see what type of work they're doing if they're happy to, hire that type of person as a gardener.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so I mean, and I'm always happy to help people as well. Like you see lots of new people start out of the tip. It's like, how you going? How long you been going for? What have you been, and
Yep.
and it's like, do you need any more work? Because I can, I'll just send some people your way. It's like, I'll contact, then
Yeah.
that's where I have that person
Yep.
or pick a few people that I sort of roughly know that I could direct work to.
Yeah, that's great.
How are you going with how are you quoting? Are you hourly? Are you doing that, and just
Yeah.
be mindful of this and maybe work to this. And
Yeah, those conversations are really good because then you get more of a gauge as to where that person's working at and whether they're somebody that you're happy to send work to.
Yeah. I mean, I say to everyone, I was like, there's enough work for all of us. Like we're all getting phone calls. So there's no need to be like there's a few contractors that still just drive around and don't wave.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any need for that. But that's just their personality. I don't know, they've probably got something going on, but
we have a good diverse range of people in this industry. So some people, and I throw myself under the bus with this, I've got to be on the autistic spectrum. So some people just don't have good communication skills.
I mean, I think I am on the autistic spectrum sometimes when I think about how much my children overwhelm me. Noise and things. I'm just like, I'm just so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like everyone just leave me alone. I can't handle it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
No, I think there's always room for us to improve our own ability to tolerate other people and do different things. But again, it's worthwhile going, I don't need to tolerate all of these things either.
No, that's it. And I'm at the stage in the business now where I don't really take on any big cleanups anymore.
Yeah, nice.
It's just too hard on the gear, too hard on the body. This, the tip runs and all that. I just, I sort of, now I will sort of say to people, I'm only taking ongoing lawn mowing clients, but I'll entertain other things. It's just more trying to work out whether you want someone ongoing and what size of job is it? Am I looking at like a full scale dog shit, kind of clean up syringes and all that type of stuff, or is it,
no,
just like someone's got an overgrown lawn, which I'm happy to. Yeah, I can.
Yeah. And I like the gardening jobs more and more now that, 15 years into business, and look at that and go, okay, making a garden look spectacular is something which gives me more sense of value than just doing the lawns.
I'm actually really enjoying the retic work.
Yeah, nice.
So, and the reason being is that when it's fixed, it's done and you don't have to go back. Whereas I can mow a lawn to look amazing, and in 2 weeks it looks like crap again, and I'm back doing the same thing over and over and over. Whereas, the retic work, it's not necessarily, and it works even better if you do their retic and then you become their lawn mowing person, because not only have you got all the sprinklers beautiful and level and coverage and all this stuff, but then you get to mow it. It's like, it's a double whammy. It makes you look amazing.
Yeah.
That lawn on the street looks like fantastic.
Yeah.
And because especially like a lot of the sprinklers here, they'll be put in and they're like, the ground's here and they're sticking up like that, and you've got to work around them. And
yep.
So if someone, I'm like, I'll offer people, you sprinkle, we could do a bit of work here, and how, and they're like, oh yeah, sure. So, and because there's one guy that's doing it, he's old and like, he doesn't have a good name for himself in town, but he's pretty much just doing all the creamy new install work.
Okay.
And there's another guy that's doing like new stuff and repairs, and then pretty much me, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm mainly just doing like the repair stuff. It's hard.
Yeah.
You don't know what's in the ground. You don't know how long it's been there. You don't know. There's a guy in Perth actually that he's on TikTok,
Yeah.
And I sort of follow what he does, and he's done a few training, like online training courses and stuff that he's been building,
Yeah. Okay.
which has been quite cool. So, but I enjoy the retic side of stuff because it's a lot more rewarding. It's a lot more problem solving,
Yep.
and it's very rewarding, but it's
Yeah.
very time consuming.
Yep.
But yeah, and I've sort of just taken a bit of a hit with it in terms of not charging so much, or not charging for all of my time while I'm building my knowledge doing these jobs.
Yep.
And then I think it will get to a point where I I have a few better tools, I'm a bit more efficient, and I know more problems and these types of things. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's been quite cool. Yeah, I like doing that because you just go there and it's done.
Yeah. And very, very satisfying. And just,
Yeah.
after you've been in business for a few years, you start finding satisfaction in different areas like that. So
Well, I'm
it's,
trying not to, like, do too many things. One
yes.
of my clients is like, "Oh, you sure you don't want to add window washing to your, I'm like,
Yep.
"No, I really don't." And she's like, "I think your partner's really good at washing windows. I know he's gonna." I'm like, "No, he doesn't." And so at the start, I'd listen to you guys talk about in the winter when it slows down and doing all these other random things and blah blah blah. But it doesn't slow down here. So
Yeah.
if anything, I find I get a lot of my newer clients coming now. I
Yeah.
don't
Okay.
know why. It's I get busy now, I find.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Um,
So the climate in your area, I talk about most of Australia will experience this, but West Australia is always different. And then north versus south makes a significant difference as well. But it seems a lot of places in Australia, you get a cooler climate from the beginning of May to the end of September. So we're getting 5 months where it is noticeably cooler. For me, it gets below 10 degrees. So you get into the single digit temperatures overnight, and that's where the grass slows down.
yeah, we are getting a slowing in the grass, definitely. A lot of my clients are going from fortnightly back to monthly, or weekly back to fortnightly.
Yeah. Okay.
But I find, I don't know what it is. It's like people have focused on their lawn all summer and they've forgotten the weeds. You know?
Okay. Yeah. So they've got those other jobs that need doing.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Or maybe it's just the fact that I'm actually answering my phone again.
Yeah.
So it feels like I'm busier. But I do. I stopped wearing my Apple Watch because I just got sick of the constant disruptions.
Yeah.
Now I just wear my Whoop, which just tells me like my recovery and how much stress I've put on my body during the day and all
Yeah.
those types of things. But there's no interface on it. It's just a thing it just tracks you. That's
Yeah.
it.
So it gives it through the app on the phone
Yeah,
rather than
it's all the
on the
data.
screen. So you're not looking at it all the time.
Yeah, and that's why they designed it like that on purpose, so that
Yeah.
it wasn't meant to be a watch. It's just literally meant to not disrupt you, but be giving you constant data, which is
No,
yeah. So
good.
I just now I'm answering the phone a bit more because my partner and I are actually getting through a lot of our regulars a lot faster. So I'm back into the like quoting, and which quoting is so time consuming.
It is, isn't it? It's one of those things when you're not busy,
Yeah.
then it's really important. But when you are really busy, it's like, oh, I don't have time to quote.
Well, and this is the thing, and like I know that really I should just be quoting everything and just keeping on top of the pricing, I guess. But you just get so busy that the quoting just becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
But then when you're not quoting and getting new work, you're just doing the same clients week after week, and that's also boring.
And that's where you can filter them and you go, okay, like you were saying, when you answer the phone, you don't sound like the right client for me. I'll refer you to Jim.
Mm. Yeah.
I shouldn't say Jim. Anyone.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now we actually run around and did the quoting just and I'm the type of person, I don't like to keep people waiting for quotes, so I don't like a quote sitting in my calendar or in my mind. I actually have a few that I need to get into Xero and sent off today.
Yep.
But, I like to get them done because then people know what they're if you're gonna wait a week or 2 weeks for someone to even come and have a look and then the price isn't right, like, that just seems crazy to me.
Yeah.
If I can get that quote done and, we can come to an agreement and we're off, then they can wait 2 weeks, until I can schedule it in, as opposed to making someone wait that long for a quote.
Yeah.
I can't mentally handle that. I know if I've got the price, we're agreed, and it's in my schedule, it's out of my mind because it's in the schedule. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And then you know they've got what they need, and go from there.
and then how like trying to actually do the quotes and fit them into your day. I either do them before I start the first job, so I drop the kids at school and then go straight to wherever the quote is, or I've got to do them after school.
Yeah.
Or maybe sometimes I can slot them in if I'm in that area that day, but I can't. It's really hard to give someone a time. So that I find the quoting is,
Intrusive.
I just go through phases where I go, I'm not doing any quotes. When I don't need to, I just go, no, I'm full, and I'll just do the odd one here and there, and then But I just
Fair
had a big commercial yard. I had to go and look at the other day. I do one of the workers' lawns, and he was telling the boss, if you want it sorted, it'll look amazing, get this girl, blah, blah, blah. So I went to have a look, and I'm like, I don't even know how to quote this. It's massive.
Yep.
So then I procrastinate on those ones. I'm like, how do I even quote this? And
Yeah.
what I have stopped doing is when I was quoting, I would give them an initial price and then an ongoing price. But what I found is sometimes shooting myself in the foot by thinking that I can tell what that ongoing price is at the first go.
Yeah.
So now I say to people, look, this is the initial. We'll get that done. Then once I've got my head around actually how long it's going to all take and what's actually going to be involved, I'll give you an ongoing price. And that seems to be working better.
This comes back to a topic we talked about 2.5 years ago in terms of quoting fixed price versus hourly rate. I'm Gary Ashton, and I'm here to help business owners succeed and enjoy being in business. Does running your business feel chaotic? Maybe you started it for freedom, to live the life you wanted, but now you're stuck in the grind, overwhelmed and exhausted. The stress doesn't stop. You work harder, but nothing really changes. Get real support at Think Tank Coaching. Get crystal clear on future goals, your ideal customers, and the numbers to focus on that will move your business forward. If you're ready to make a change, let's talk. Book your free strategy session now at thinktankcoaching.com.au. When you get to jobs like that where you go, I don't even know where to quote, what I've done is I move back to hourly, and I don't give them an hourly rate necessarily, but it is worth having that. And I was on the recent one I did with Chris from Full Throttle, we were talking about hourly rates versus fixed price. And he does fixed price. And I said, I think if you don't have an answer ready for your customer in terms of justifying your hourly rates, you're more of a cowboy than if you do have that ready to talk
I was
about.
thinking that. I was like, interesting.
And that's an opinion I've changed over time, but also because of doing those larger commercial contracts. If you look at a commercial yard and you're like, okay, I don't know how to quote that, you start putting it into perspective of how many residential yards is it, or is it going to be a half day, a full day, a week sort of thing. And once you start going, okay, put a time allocation towards it, then you can start going, well, how many resources outside of time are we putting towards it? And it might be easy to go, well, half a day, that's $500.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I have sort of got to the conclusion in my mind as I'm pretty much at a day rate.
Yep.
I think.
That's it.
But the day rates changed since I've had my partner come on board. So we're obviously we've got goals that we want to be achieving, because he's gone from a mining wage to working with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't pay you what you're paying. But I can see the potential to build to that, just not right now, which is why we held out for redundancy, so that we had time. We had this transition time. So so I think I will do the day rate, but it's just and at the end of the day, if they don't want to pay it, they're not my client. So
that's right. And you might say, look, it's a 5-day cleanup, and then it's 1 day a week after that.
Well, that's it.
And often a commercial contract like that, they are weighing up what it's worth in terms of time for a employee to do the work. So they want to hear you're going to be there for a day a week, because in their mind they're going, well, I've got to allocate an employee a day a week to do this job otherwise.
Well, this is the thing, because the way the labour is going at the moment, this is why it's left so bad, because they have all these intentions of getting a staff member to do it, but they can't even get staff to do the work that their business is required to do for their business, let alone put them on to doing the yard for a day. So, or
that's
longer.
right.
Yeah. So
So they already know what it's worth.
that's right. That's a good point.
So if you're not prepared to discuss it, then they're going to make a judgment about you without you discussing it.
Yeah. I mean, I've got the reasons why I want what I want. I had a guy. I do a yard. It's like a generator yard, and they had a new change in manager, and I gave them a price. And he's like, "Oh, there's just a tiny square of lawn." I said, "I don't just come and mow the lawn, though." He's like, "Oh, righto." And I said, "I do this and I do this and I blow around here and I spray these and I pick up your rubbish and I do this." And he's like, "Oh, okay, righto." Like, because because I increased their price, and it happened to be at the same time when they had this boss change, and he was questioning my price, and I was like, "Oh, I know exactly why I'm charging what I'm charging."
That's right.
And I'm not just sure I'll come and mow the lawn. Yeah, you'll get a cheap price, but the actual whole way I got that job is a guy hit me up at the coffee van, seen my ute and rig, and was like, "Do you do yards?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you want to come and quote my yard?" And I was like, "Right now?" He's like, "Sure." So, and they had like head high weeds all the way around the perimeter. It was like a fire hazard, and they had the boss coming out, and I've been there for like 3 years now.
Yeah, that's where that photo of the 6 foot tall weeds is really good. You can go back to this if you want cheap.
Yeah, that's it. This is what your yard used to look like, mate, long before you were here.
This is where you would have heard me talk about giving people 3 quotes, and
Not sure.
I say my worst is the bare minimum you need. So your basic quote is going to be where I need it to be to go, okay, I'm happy for you to be a customer. And then your mid-range quote is going to be where I really like you. And your highest end quote is going to be where I actually hate you, but you're getting the best.
Yeah. I don't want to be doing all this stuff.
So that gives you the ability to go, okay, I'm going to offer them a high price, but here's the bare minimum they need.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to be my worst customer, you want to be on the worst list where I can drop you because I get a better customer, that's okay.
Yeah, true.
I'll give you that quote. But not a cowboy quote. It's still above cowboy.
See, I refuse to do the cowboy quotes because at the end of the day, or work to people's budgets, because at the end of the day, if I'm not happy with the way that yard looks when I leave because of how much you've paid me, that reflects on me and my business. So if I go and do a rough job because you only want to pay me $200 to just whip all these weeds and leave them on the ground, I'm not going to do that, because that is someone's going to go, "Oh, look at that girl. She just whips weeds and just leaves them." Because that's what I would say looking at somebody else. So I just refuse to work. I don't do that work.
So I would say my bare minimum for doing residential work at the moment, and I'm not doing residential work, so it's not even an option, but doing residential work would be 20 cuts a year, bare minimum. So fortnightly cuts whilst it's growing, and then once every 4 weeks when it's not growing flat out. And that's my bare minimum. So if they're a good customer, they're going to be better than the bare minimum, but my worst customer is still going to be decent.
Yeah.
And that way, whatever you're throwing in maintenance, whether it's taking care of the weeds, putting out some fertilizer, whatever it is, you work those in and go, okay, this is what they need in order for me to go. This is the bare minimum, the nice cream in the middle, and then I hate you because you want everything.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, actually. Yeah. And I think having the retic's been really good, because now there's a few clients that I know will probably happy to spend some money. And when now that I'm not mowing their lawns fortnightly, they're going back to monthly, I can sort of like still schedule stuff in to, keep the work boosted up, to fill in the gaps.
Retic is something which, it's a dirty word, but it's only a West Australian word. But on the East Coast, there are a few places where higher end properties will have irrigation or reticulation. In West Australia, if you're talking Perth, they absolutely have to have reticulation in order for the grass to grow. If they don't have it, it's just like sand and that looks like a desert.
Well, I don't have retic, but I have grass. It is possible, But yeah, Perth is another whole can of worms because their soil is literally sand,
So
whereas
what's your soil like?
it's red dirt. It's like a clayey. It's very compact below the surface, but stuff grows. When we get rain, I actually think like if we got more rain here, we would have like the growth here is crazy. Like
Yeah.
stuff grows here. It's just we don't get the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, it's possible to have a lawn here. I don't have retic. It's on my list of things to put in. Um, I'm just concerned about all the digging.
Yeah, but my opinion is, based on the amount of experience I've got, and I haven't done reticulation or anything like that. But if you improve your soil quality, the grass will grow better. If you increase the water, the grass will grow better. So you can do either of those, or you can do both of those. Sometimes, like Perth, you have to add nutrients to the sand because it's just sand.
It is, yeah.
And you have to add water as well. So the amount of water they add to their soil for their grass to grow is the bare minimum to make sure it stays green.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whereas on the East Coast, we get enough rainfall on average that it's more than what reticulation's ever going to give you.
Wow.
And it's only, say, once in our growth season, or sometimes like a lot of growth seasons, you don't get any dry air at all. But often you'll get a few weeks where it dries out long enough that the grass starts to brown off and then you get rain again.
And I think to myself sometimes, I think there's no way I'd be a lawn mowing contractor in New Zealand. I just can't handle the rain.
It's always green.
Oh my God. I'm like, I don't work out. I don't go out in the rain because I can't stand when you whip and the grass goes on the concrete and it sticks. Or it sticks on the fence and it's dirty on the fence. Like it's never clean. It's never, I just, compared to what I'm used to. I mean, I guess if that was your norm, everyone would just understand, and that would just, you just do the best you could because that's just how it is. Or like in New Zealand, we never even used to pick up the clippings, so we just mow the lawn and just leave them on the lawn.
And I've got no problem with that because I think that on the East Coast, there's a lot of people who will mulch the grass rather than catch the grass.
Yeah, well, there's no way I would leave lawn clippings on the grass here.
Yeah,
no way. You'd look like a total cowboy if you did that here.
Yeah, and I'm okay with either or. I don't think there's one size fits every scenario.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that will mulch and it looks brilliant, and you don't need to catch the grass. But there are plenty of places, and if you look at the difference between Perth and where I am, you can see it's a massive difference and why people use a cylinder mower. If you look at Brisbane, where they've got a lot of green couch, if you try mulching that, it's ugly. It looks horrible, and it's like it's just mess everywhere. So you can understand they just go, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And most of Brisbane's like that.
Yeah, I'd love to get a cylinder mower. That's on one of my things to do. Once I get retic, I see all these guys on. I'm like, oh God, I don't have enough time for that. I nearly bought one last year, and I'm glad I didn't because I just.
Well, the funny thing is, there are a lot of people with cylinder mowers are not charging significantly more than people with rotary mowers. It's a much more expensive mower.
Yeah. There's one guy getting around here that's got a cylinder mower, and I talked to him one day, and he proceeded to tell me that he was the best lawnmower in Kalgoorlie. So I was like, "Oh, good for you, mate." I was like, "Why would you say that to another lawn mowing contractor?" I was like, where's your filter?
on the spectrum for sure. But
I was like, "Okay, good for you." Cool.
He's got the cylinder mower, so he's the best.
So all right, cool. Anyway, that's what it is.
That's how West Australians think, though. They're better than the East Coast because they've got cylinder mowers.
I couldn't even get my head around trying to transport that thing and getting it across like rocks and concrete, or you just get a little rock in the lawn and then no.
Yeah, you got to have perfect lawns for it, don't you?
Yeah, I've got a few that would just look real, like I'm on like level 1 or 2 on my Honda.
Yep.
And they just look really smack and tight, and you could go the next, but it's like I don't have enough to warrant getting around like that all the time.
Yeah, it's fun to think about it and go, okay, I could get a MoMaster 7,000, 8,000. They're probably closer to 10,000, I'm sure, by now. Get a MoMaster, and that one customer will be absolutely spectacular. But I'm not going to get paid any more for the effort.
I'm half tempted to tell the client to buy one of those mow masters, and I'll mow his lawn with that.
Yeah.
Because like they're the type of clients that
would.
that have the money and that would they care. They get me there weekly, you know, summer or winter, it doesn't matter. Did I rock up and it literally hasn't even grown a mill, but I still run over it and get all the
Yep.
leaves and do all the things. Like,
Yeah.
you know, they're the type of people that I'm like, get me a rotary mower and I'll really make the, you know.
Yeah.
I like to get things at home, figure it out, wreck it, muck it up. You know, the same as the retech. I like to do stuff like that here. It'd be the same as I can have a robot mower here easily, and just figure it all out before I then go out and put it out in the world. Or I'll find people that'll be like, "Hey, I'm not really like full throttle on this, but can I give it a whirl on your lawn?" You know, and then just go from there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, there's lots of things that I think about and go, oh, yeah, I wouldn't mind giving that a try, but it's a case of going like with the
Do you miss
MoMaster.
residential stuff, or are you happy just doing what you're doing?
I'm happy doing what I'm doing, but I do think about it. And I'll have half a dozen people contact me going, haven't you done that yet, Gary? I've thought about going, should I just set up another vehicle with doing treatments like Coochie Hydrogreen, just run around doing fertilizer, weed treatment, grub treatment.
Yeah.
And you can do that. You can sell that to a customer that you might not have as a regular lawn mowing customer and just go, okay, we're going to come around quarterly or every second month or every 4 weeks even.
Yeah.
And do a treatment on your lawn, and it's going to make your lawn look so much nicer than what it is without that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I have thought about setting up a rig like that or going in and doing just hedge trimming for residential customers.
I've got a few big hedges. Oh, man, hanging on to that thing for like a whole day. Well, not a whole day. I only work 6 hours, let's be real. But like,
yeah,
it's a lot. I'm trying to figure out how to get it so that I'm not just so one-sided all the time. You know, trying to get better at going backwards. So I'm like alternating the sides.
I think the hedge trimmer you're using makes a massive difference. And I don't actually own one, but why don't you try it? Grab a Makita hedge trimmer.
Okay.
I've been thinking about it for the last 3 years, and 4 years even. I should do it. I should just get one so that I can say I've actually got one and use it.
I think Sydney Tools sells them, actually. And we've got a Sydney Tools here now.
Makita hedge trimmer that's got the red trigger on it. So you look for the black handle with the red trigger and you know it's their commercial one.
Okay.
They do a handheld one as well as a short pole one that are those quality ones. High blade speed, brilliant quality, low weight. Make a massive difference to the amount of impact on your body when you're using that compared to using the multi-tool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've got a handheld still hedger, battery one.
Yep.
But it hasn't got the swivel handle. It's the older.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have a look at the Makita stuff. Yeah, because the hedging is. I don't want to say no because
yeah,
it has such a big impact on the property and everyone driving past. Yeah. But at the same time, it's brutal.
Well, how much would you charge per hour for hedge trimming?
I don't really specify out. I just have like an hourly rate in my head for everything.
Yeah. So
I don't have a higher rate for hedging as such, but maybe.
Well, let me put it to you like this: there are guys in LMCA and on Instagram that you look at and you go, actually, their hedging is spectacular, and they're charging $70 an hour. And there's other guys that are charging 5 times that much and equally spectacular. They might be identical in terms of their quality of work. Others are like they're streets apart in terms of the quality. Remy down in Melbourne is one of the guys. I actually went and visited him. His quality of work is exceptional. He's been trained by some of the best in Melbourne, and the quality of work is unreal.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you're going to do some topiary and hedges and you're going to make them look absolutely spectacular, then you're going to take a little bit more time and care with them, and you're going to charge them instead of 100, 120 an hour. You're probably going to charge them 2 or 3, 4. And so you're paying for that difference.
Yeah.
up to them whether they want to take it on. You can give them the cheap job, the quick job, which is $120 an hour, or you can go, I can sit here with a laser level, a string line, or whatever, the various different things that people will do to make sure that hedge comes up spectacular, or with the hand shears for the topiary, make
Yeah,
sure the balls look perfect.
That's the thing with the hedging is, like, I've got one property that I do, which is fine because the ground is all even, and I just kind of like lock it in at a certain height on my, on my body where I hold it. But I've got this other one where the ground is like uneven, and I don't have any like level. There's no level on a fence that I can bring it in on.
Yeah.
Is that when people just will knock in like a string line? Because I thought about a laser level, but you can't see them during the day anyway.
So yeah, I've been looking at this with the laser levels. I was chatting to I'll shout out to Emil from Gorilla Gardening in Sydney. I asked him last night about this. I said, "Oh, what do you reckon?" There's a $4,000 laser level, and it has what's the right word? So basically, it'll give you 2 different slopes you can run the laser at. So normally a laser level is like level horizontal and level vertical, 2 lines, and you put it inside and you can see them on your wall, and you can use that for doing tiles or brickwork or something like that. You go to what these ones are, they're made for doing gradients, and they're made for being attached to a grader or a bobcat or something like that for doing a driveway perfectly level, or on a gradient.
Yeah.
So $4,000 for a dual grade laser level, and what they do, you don't look at the laser, or you don't see the green light or the red light. You have a receiver that goes on the top of your hedge trimmer or on a pole, and you hold the pole, you walk around with the receiver, you make a cut at the right height there, then you go down 3 meters, make another cut, do the next one and the next one. Now, I like the idea of the gradient laser at $4,000 because then you can decide whether you want it to be perfectly level or you want it to follow the same gradient as the ground.
True.
Alternatively, you can do what Gorilla does, and he was firmly in this camp, and I kind of agree with him. $4,000 is a lot of money for a laser level. And he said OCD wins. You just use your eye, and you just obsessive over making sure it looks great.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, Remy down in Melbourne, he will use the laser level. He'll have like concreters use a leveling bar.
Yep.
So he'll have a level attached to a long bar, and you can put that up vertically to get nice verticals, or along the top of the hedge to check it as well. All those different things. So the level bar, the string line, the laser level, and one of the best tricks there is to actually have a permanent post inside a hedge, so that you can go back and go, all right, that's the height that it was cut last time.
Oh, that's interesting.
And you make that permanent post lower than the actual height that you cut it at, but you go in, you go, okay, if I put that post in, I know where I'm measuring from.
So essentially, if you were to set your string line up one time and you just leave some posts in there that's like that height, and then you just do it once, and then that's a pretty good idea.
But with the post in the hedge permanently, you wouldn't even use the string line. What you do is you come back to that post.
Yeah,
and you might stick a brick on top of the post or a business card or something, and you go, that's the height that I cut at. So you grab your hand shears, you do a cut at the height of the post plus the business card, and then you go down to the next post and you do the same thing, and that gives you your visual to know that that's the correct place to cut.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's cool. It's all those little tricks and little things that you can do just to make the job just like that much easier, and then it doesn't become such a hard task, and you're not so slow. I feel like you're just going so slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a bunch of tricks like that, and when you start obsessing over hedge trimming and making sure you, like Emil is OCD about it, you start going, okay, some customers are not going to be willing to pay for that, but the ones that are, make it worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, part of me is wondering if maybe I'm offering that service too cheap. I'm definitely not $70 an hour, but it's still like, I guess it is specialized work.
Well, I guess that goes to, are you doing it for the fun of it, which your shoulders are going to say no, or are you doing it because the customer wants it to look spectacular? And how much are they willing to pay for it to look spectacular?
Yeah.
Because I'm quite okay with a customer where I know they're paying handsomely for their lawns to look spectacular. And I'm like, whilst I'm here, I'm not even going to charge them for a for a little topiary ball. Let's just throw it in because I'm
Yeah.
making sure their lawns look spectacular.
Yeah.
But there are customers that want 100 topiary balls, and you don't go there to do the lawns. You're just doing all their balls or their perfect hedge.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's got to be worth a premium because it's artistry. It's not just labor.
Yeah, definitely.
And
yeah,
then
that's food for thought.
the premium is dependent on how much they value it and how much you value it.
Mm. Yeah.
So yeah,
Cool.
like I said, some people will charge the same rate as what they're cutting a lawn for, and other people will charge multiples of that.
Yeah, it starts getting pretty pricey though. I struggle to justify it in my mind, like, oh, yeah,
Yeah, but I guess that's where you look at it and you go, am I just doing really great lawns, or am I doing something that is actually spectacular?
Mm.
And you know, that customer that you said would be quite happy to pay for the cost of a Mowmaster.
Maybe.
Well, they
Yeah.
they're prepared to pay you to turn up weekly all year round.
Mm. Yeah.
They're going above and beyond, right?
Yeah.
So there's an argument there for somebody who's like that to go, well, how much do you value this?
Yeah.
And chances are that they value it more than the person down the other end of Kalgoorlie that's like, just do the bare minimum.
Yeah. Yeah. Just get it pruned. Yeah.
So some people want not just their lawns, but they also want their gardens to have some topiary or, you know, a perfectly square hedge.
Mm.
Yeah, well, it's been great talking to you. We've hit 2 hours.
We have. It's been good. It's an interesting little reflection, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot has changed, and a lot of extra wisdom with the extra couple of years that you've had.
I was thinking, oh, I don't know that I'd have anything to talk about. I don't know really if I've been. But no, I think yeah, a lot has changed. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely going in the right direction. Definitely not going back to working for anyone else. This is the path. It's just trying to figure out how to stay in the game, I guess.
Yeah. Thanks for your time, Michelle. It's been good.
No worries, Gary. Thanks heaps.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.